Once upon a time when life was simple and serene, my roommate was a lesbian and I a happy queen. I lived for Sunday brunches in my tightest fitting jeans, while she read The Well of Loneliness and Plexus magazine. But now I go to potlucks where the food is rather bleak, and I've joined a new support group that meets every other week, while she lives to go out dancing with her hair done up in curls. It's getting hard to tell the boys from the girls. Once upon a time, when life was crystal clear, each of us had favorite music we preferred to hear. While I went dancing to Sylvester down in Key West every year, she went to music festivals to worship Holly near. Our taste in music have completely turned around, and now instead of Michigan she goes to Provincetown, while I play Alex Dobkin on my Walkman now and then. It's getting hard to tell the women from the men. Once upon a time when life was easy to predict, sex was something I could get, and I could get it quick. I'd look at all the men and know that I could take my pick, while she frowned upon my lifestyle with each and every trick. But now my sex adventures, though still fun, are rather tame, while she's discovered Joanne Lulin and she'll never be the same, 'cause she dates a lot of women and she buys erotic toys. It's getting hard to tell the girls from the boys. Times they change, fashions rearrange themselves. If you don't stay on top, you'll find yourself dropped on a shelf. Once upon a time, when life was black and white, oh, I used to do the drag shows to be famous for a night, while she drank her beer without a glass and looked for Mrs. Right. I cruised the local customers just asking for a light, but now she is the only one who steps out in a dress, and I'm wearing all her flannel shirts and sandals, I confess. And now she smokes Virginia Slims instead of Lucky Strikes. It's getting hard to tell the boys from girls, hard to tell the men from women, hard to tell the faggots from the dykes. Now if all of this appears to show that everyone's gone mad, it's only part and parcel of a somewhat larger fad. Look no further than the glint of gold in many straight boys' ears. It's getting hard to tell the breeders from the queers.
Good morning, world. Good morning, Lincoln. Welcome to KZUM's Lavender Hill here on KZUM-Lincoln 89.3 on the FM dial and online at kzum.org. Or perhaps you're using that handy-dandy smarter than a calculator device that you take absolutely everywhere with you. For the love of Gilbert, whoever he is, wash your hands. We know where you take that thing. Anywho, we just heard from Romanovsky and Phillips off of their Be Political, Not Polite, and that was the song Love Is All It Takes. I'm going to use that as an introduction into my interview that I did with Paul and Ron shortly after our own Star City Pride here in Lincoln, Nebraska earlier this month. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of who they are in case you've been living under a rock since this show started, Romanovsky and Phillips met in 1981, started recording in 82, and had their first album tour in 1983. It was actually a cassette with only 8 songs on it, but they toured anyways and hit 20 cities in 2 countries over the course of 4 months. They'll tell us a little bit about one of their visits, as well as talk to me about some of what they've experienced over the decades in the LGBTQIA2S SOGI community. 16 years of music behind them as a couple and as a performing duo. as well as many years of experience afterwards. Keep on listening for that, and after the interview segment, Jenny and I will share some of our thoughts about what's going on in the world today and as it affects the LGBTQIA2S SOGI community.
Hello, Paul. Hello, Ron. How are you two doing today?
We're great. How are you?
Great. Good
Oh,
to talk.
not too bad at all. It's so good to have you here. I wasn't sure if this was going to happen because I know that you've still got a busy schedule in your
Yeah,
lives, despite how many years it's been since you've released anything new.
right, right. Well, we have busy lives separately now.
Mm.
Paul is busier than me, I think.
Yeah.
My life is sort of deliberately slow right now.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
We're trying to back off and relax, but yeah.
Yeah. Eli sent along the music to me, which was such a thrill. It's not the first time I've gotten music from Eli, and I was just like, wow, cool. And the opportunity to interview the two of you was even better.
Oh,
And what better month out of the year to do it than Pride Month?
right.
That's right.
Why not?
You were saying before we got started here today that you have actually been to Lincoln with your first tour way back when?
It was 1983, the fall of 1983. I think Lincoln was our second stop. The first was San Diego. We lived in San Francisco back then. And we played some little bar in Lincoln. I can't remember the name of it, but it only happened because we happened to know somebody from Lincoln who knew the owners and they set us up.
Sounds like that might have been Panic Bar.
Panic Bar. That doesn't ring a bell. What
Mm-mm.
else? What was before that?
I
This
don't
was
know
over
what
40
else was
years ago.
around. Was it a queer bar?
Oh yeah.
We're talking over 40 years ago, almost
Yeah.
50 years ago.
I said 1983.
So yeah, I don't know what else was in the area that would have counted as an LGBTQIA whatever bar other than Panic, and that may not have been its original name.
Yeah.
1983, I wasn't even in Nebraska. I'm not going to tell you what I was doing in 1983 because I don't want to make you feel any older than you already are.
That's okay.
But it's great that you did make it to Lincoln at least once while you were touring. And what was that first album?
The first album was called I Thought You'd Be Taller. But at the time of that first tour, we didn't even have that out yet. We had
Oh, didn't
a cassette, a primitive cassette recording with 8 songs on it that we sold on that tour.
And that was called In the Outfield, but it's not
Yeah.
available anymore.
Yeah.
Are the songs that were on it available?
Most of them were recorded on other albums
Later
on, but there's a couple that aren't. But so anybody who has an original copy of In the Outfield, those are actually probably worth at least $5, $6, $7 on open market.
If they're still playable.
Right.
If they still have a cassette deck, right?
Right.
I do.
I don't think I do anymore. Last time I moved, I think I got rid of my boom boxes. I had 2 identical ones, and it's like, I don't have room. We downsized.
Yeah.
But I do have the little machine you hook up to the computer to digitize your cassettes.
Yeah.
So I've still got the cassettes floating around somewhere from my early days.
We just worked with Eli, our friend, and digitized, I don't know, I think it's almost 100 cassette tapes of live recordings and interviews and whatnot.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we also digitized most of our paper archives with working with him. So
Sweet. Yeah, that's definitely something that I know I would like to be able to get a peek at some point in time. I'm such an info nut.
yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
We
Go
on
ahead.
on our YouTube artist channel, the Romanovsky and Phillips channel, we are posting every month a video, like pretty old historic videos, before for cell phones and stuff. And next month in July, we're actually posting just an audio track of an interview we did with Alex Bennett, who is a fairly well-known radio personality in the Bay Area, but also in New York City. So we're slowly but surely going to be posting all kinds of like weird historic stuff.
Speaking of interviews that you've done in the past, did you ever get a chance to talk with J.D. Doyle
Oh
from
yeah,
Houston?
Oh yeah,
I thought as much with his queer heritage, his queer music heritage project that he has had going for years. I figured as much.
yeah. He's
great.
he's always been a big supporter of our work. And we did, I think we actually did more than one interview with him, but we did one that was like really long that it's on his site. So it's
Yeah.
on the Heritage site.
Yeah, I visited his interview archives quite a few times. The godmother of Lavender Hill, if you will, Deb Anderson, who has been hosting the women's show, which is on right after us, for over 40 years. She introduced me to JD via Facebook a number of years ago, and we've been exchanging emails here and there and getting permission from him to air things. We did a special airing of one of his Stonewall episodes from his radio show. I believe it was last year. Because it's one of those, I need something for right after Pride Day. I'm going to be exhausted.
Mhm.
Because I've been emceeing the Pride Parade the last several years and, of course, running the KZUM booth at the festival.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, weekends for Pride, I am exhausted come Sunday morning.
Sure.
It's a busy month.
Yeah, and I bet it's been busy for the two of you.
Well, yeah,
Not really.
we haven't, Santa Fe hasn't had its Pride yet.
Yeah, ours is at the end of the month.
Yeah. But I did go to the No Kings rally on Saturday and participated in that. So, but most of, I mean, I have not been involved in music pretty much since Ron and I stopped performing in 1999. Ron went on to have a solo career, and he at one point he was playing with a band, and now he plays with a violinist, and they have performances a couple of times a month during the summer here in Santa Fe. But what I'm busy with has nothing to do with music per se, although I am very busy with the archiving project and promoting R&P's work
Right.
on Facebook and stuff like that. So
I'm glad to see that the two of you still have a presence with RNP or Romanovsky and Phillips for anybody who just tuned in.
right.
So I'm talking with the two wonderful people from Romanovsky and Phillips, Paul and Ron here. So yeah, it's been quite the experience for me getting a chance to listen to everything that Eli sent along on your behalf.
Mhm.
There were some things I hadn't heard.
That's often the case with people who,
Tom.
even people who are really fond of our work. It's often the case that they only have heard, either 2 or 3 albums rather than the whole collection and stuff. So yeah.
So yeah, I have even been listening to you while I'm at work.
Oh,
I get to put on my earbuds and just bebop around doing my thing, and it's like, okay, let's listen to something. Let's start out with, my favorite track of yours, Be Political, Not Polite.
hmm
Oh yeah.
Which, like I said in the email that I sent to you, we've been playing that every election cycle, local, state, and federal, since Lavender Hill started.
Oh,
Sometimes it gets played like every week. Because it's like says it the best that I can say it without getting yanked off the air, because we all have some interesting things to say about what did I call him earlier? Mango Mussolini,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cheeto Van Hoffa,
The Orange Menace.
Velveeta Voldemort.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
I like that.
I like that one because it's not only kind of an insult to him, but an insult to her.
Right.
Packs a
Uh,
punch.
mm. So obviously, the two of you have been around for a number of years in music. Ron, especially continuing on after Romanovsky and Phillips stopped performing together. What kind of an impact do you feel your music has had on I'll simplify it here, the queer community?
Well, we still get really wonderful, heartfelt letters from old fans telling us that our music helped them come out, help them accept themselves being gay and talk to their families about it, maybe, or um, helped them figure out the direction of their life and who they were going to be in the world. And I mean, I can't think of I can't think of a bigger compliment, than those things.
When I do Facebook posts, especially, when we put up a new video or something like that, or I tell a story about a particular concert or whatever, um, every time I do it, somebody new speaks out and says something very complimentary about the fact that our music was really important to them and still is important to them. It was very funny when I first went on Facebook. I didn't get on Facebook until 2020. I kind of was like, uh, a holdout for a long time. Well, uh, but when I did get on Facebook, the first thing that happened was a lot of people, friended me, because they were fans of Romanovsky and Phillips, and it was it was always kind of interesting to hear this sort of like fan gushing going on a page that I started, you know, 22 years after we stopped performing, but so I think there are many people who continue to sort of hold a torch for us and, value our work. The hardest thing for me is that I wish more younger people were exposed to our music, and it's a hard thing to do,
Mm.
because there's so much competition out there now, for the gay audience, for music in general, with the advent of YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, with people posting their little reels and stuff like that. It just becomes this loud, cacophonous, you know, world that we're living in now. And so it's really hard to raise your hand and say, but don't forget us. But so I'm always glad when people actually respond very positively and
One of the things I like to do with Lavender Hill is try to introduce people to some of the older music, not
Mhm.
just yours, but early Katie Lang and Melissa Etheridge from when she got started. And of course, newer stuff like there is a new composer out there, or lyricist, I should say. She doesn't compose, she's a lyricist by the name of Liz Phillips.
Huh.
And she does
Never heard.
AI generated music because she doesn't sing, she doesn't perform or play an instrument, but she wants to get her lyrics out there, and she's trying to find somebody who likes what they hear and wants to turn it into something with a human voice and real instruments.
Mm.
And I found her on TikTok. So I play a little bit of her stuff every once in a while because her first song, Say Our Names, was very powerful. So I wanted
Mm.
to get at least that message out there. And I make it very clear if I'm going to play an AI generated track that it's AI. because I don't want anybody to think that, it's real and then they find out later on that it's computer generated.
Right.
Yeah. Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Just because you mentioned Katie Lang and Melissa Etheridge, do you think of them as gay music?
To me, yes,
Because
because
they're
I know where they or how they identify, or at least somewhat how they identify. And as a young gay kid in the 80s, seeing Katie Lang on Hee Haw kind of opened the eyes a little bit. And I think that actually made my mother a little bit easier to accept things because she really enjoyed Katie Lang.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I never saw that. That's funny.
Yeah, Katie Lang and the Reclines got started out really getting nationally known through Hee Haw, thanks to Minnie Pearl.
Right.
Which I love telling that story to Deb with the women's show because she didn't even know that Katie Lang had been on Hee Haw.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It was like, where were you in the 80s? She was like, I was busy going to Mitch Fest.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Unfortunately, we only have a few minutes left in the time. I guess what I'd like to do is give the two of you an opportunity to say what you would have liked to have heard from somebody when you were young and coming up and coming up.
Yeah.
Well,
To be honest with you, any representation would have been wonderful. I mean, I grew up in West Virginia, well, New Jersey, and then my teen years in West Virginia. And the only gay people that I was sort of aware of were all closeted. So,
Mhm.
I had this idea that they might be like me or whatever, but I mean, friends of my mother's and stuff, the drama teacher at school and the organist at Chautauqua where we spent our summers and stuff. But they weren't out. So, that's the role model that I was given was you can't tell anybody, you can't be
Mhm.
out. So any representation of anything out and gay would have been great, but it just
yeah.
wasn't the case.
The reason I asked you about Katie Lang and Melissa Etheridge is because I'm not real familiar with their music, either of them. They're both great, but I don't think they were real out in their lyrics. I mean, they're out as gay people.
Mhm. No, they
You
weren't
know,
really out with their lyrics. That's true, at least not in
yeah,
the beginning.
Yeah.
which is still a lot better than what we had as teenagers or what we didn't have. I mean, like I remember identifying with David Bowie, like that was the closest thing we had to a gay music icon,
Hmm.
because he was kind of androgynous, but he wasn't really gay, and he certainly never said that he was. But we were so desperate for any crumbs of identification, in the arts or in the media, that that's what we had. And I hope that, and I think that our music did fill that gap for the next generation coming after us. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure that answered your question, but that's what I,
In a way, it did. In a way, it
yeah,
did. Yeah. Because Paul definitely said it there that, back in the 70s, 80s, or even before, there wasn't really anybody there that was out and publicly available.
Right. Instead, all we got were Charles Nelson Riley and Paul Lynde and Liberace, all of whom were these big screaming queens, but they would never self-identify as such.
Hmm.
And so
I mean,
it
you
it wa-
couldn't back then.
it was a bit of a mind messer, to see these guys up there whose biggest audience were middle American housewives.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, even if one of them had just said, "Hey, and here's my boyfriend," God,
Yeah.
it would have been so nice,
Just a casual and here's my
Yeah.
partner, here's my
Instead of
boyfriend, here's my
instead of here,
girlfriend.
this is my chauffeur, isn't he cute? It's like, oh,
Yeah. Well, we are literally running out of time, so I want to say thank you to both of you very much for taking some time out of your day to do this. And I look forward to getting feedback from my listeners and, maybe, talking to you again sometime where we have a little bit more time.
Really, probably
Yeah, we'd love to.
probably most of the feedback will be, oh my God, they're still alive.
For yourself.
All right. Well, again, thank you, both of you. You two have a wonderful day and happy Pride.
Thank you too.
You too, Philip.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Guess I was one of the lucky ones. My threats were just a charade. But there was a time when it seemed like the answer was a bottle of pills or a razor blade. 'Cause when they don't understand you, or they tell you it's only a phase, well, that's one way out of high school. One way to escape all your loneliest days. One way out of a small town. And sometimes it seems like the only way. I could have been a statistic, and what would the papers have said? I doubt if they would have told the full story of who really left me for dead. 'Cause when they don't understand you, or they tell you it's only a phase, well, that's one way out of high school. One way to escape all your loneliest days. One way out of a small town. And sometimes it seems like the only way. When they talk about saving the children, 1 out of 10 they ignore. But if we the survivors can drown out the liars, we won't have to lose anymore. And anyone can be a beacon to brighten the dark of despair. Light up the path to another way out when nobody else seems to care. 'Cause when they don't understand you, or they tell you it's only a phase, well, that's one way out of high school. One way to escape all your loneliest days. One way out of a small town. And sometimes it seems like the only one way out of high school. One way to escape all your loneliest days. One way out of a small town. And sometimes it seems like the only way. But it's not the only way. No, it's not the only way. It's not the only way. No, it's not the only way.
Hi, this is Mama Gina, and you are listening to Lavender Hill on KZUM-Lincoln. Over a decade of LGBTQIA2S+ news, talk, and music to make you think.
He makes me smile when I am blue. He gives me answers when I really haven't got a single solitary clue. He makes my troubles seem so small. He's so handsome, dark and tall. He doesn't judge me when I regress. His words are cloaked in tenderness. He's the lover I've never kissed. Oh no, 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 no. I'm in love. I'm in love. He helps me strengthen my resolve. There's not a problem he can't solve. He's always cheerful. He's never a grouch. Ooh, I wanna lay down on his couch. We get along like soup and salad. He reassures me that my anger is valid. He thinks it's good when I get pissed. Oh no, 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 I'm in love with my therapist. My friends encouraged me to get some therapy. Cause when you left me I was such a mess. I thought life held no more for me till he opened up his door to me, and I found myself surrounded by his sympathy. He reinforces my self-esteem. He likes to analyze my dreams. He always listens when I speak. I wish I could afford to see him more than once a week. He lets me try out different roles. He pushes me to set some goals. Each hour we spend together is total bliss. Oh no, 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 no. My friends encouraged me to get some therapy. Cause when you left me I was such a mess. I thought it was the end for me till he became a friend to me, and I found myself astounded by his empathy. He's got diplomas on his wall. There's fresh brewed coffee down the hall. He's got begonias on his windowsill, and Kleenex enough for a nuclear spill. He calls it progress when I cry. Oh, what a sweet and sensitive guy. Why couldn't you have been like this? Oh, no, 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 no. I'm in love. I'm in love. I'm in love with my therapist. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm in love with my therapist.